So you found the answer key video, which means you must have done the work first and you're just checking your answers. So the directions were to find the exact answer. So let's look at number 1. So I'm dealing with finding the sine of 4 pi over 3. So first off, what's my reference angle? Yeah, it's a denominator of 3. So a denominator of 3 is a 60-degree angle. So I know that I have a reference angle of 60 degrees or pi over 3. It's the same thing. With me? Okay. And I know that if I take the sine of 60 degrees, sine is opposite over hypotenuse. I know that the sine is going to be the square root of 3 over 2. But now I need to know the quadrant, because the quadrant is going to tell me if that answer is positive or negative. Do you remember what I mentioned in the lecture video? Yes, my reference point, should I say, I'll leave it that way, is pi. Now this is a denominator of 3, which means I can rewrite this as 3 pi over 3. And now I'm looking at 4 pi over 3. And 4 pi over 3 is going into quadrant 3, isn't it? And if I actually get the common denominator, I'm going to notice that 4 pi over 3 stays in quadrant 3. It is a quadrant 3 angle. So this being a quadrant 3 angle tells me sine, is that x or y? That's the y value. So the y value in quadrant 3 is negative, which means this answer is negative. Good? Okay. Let's see what you did for number 2. So for number 2, I'm noticing I have a denominator of 6, and denominators of 6 in radian are 30 degrees. So I know I have a reference angle of 30 degrees, or pi over 6, it's the same thing. But I like to always put the two together so my brain always has the degree and the radians like synchronized. So when I look at 30 degrees and I'm taking the tangent of it, good, tangent is opposite over adjacent. So that means it would be, what, 1 over root 3? But you have to rationalize it, so that's square root of 3 over 3, right? But now I need to know this quadrant. In this particular case, it's a negative pi over 6. So I'm going in this direction. I'm going against the labeling, shall I say, right? And so it is a quadrant 4 angle. And remember, tangent is y over x. Well, in this particular quadrant, x is positive, y is negative. So y over x means that this is going to be a negative answer. So the tangent of negative pi over 6 is negative root 3 over 3. Good? Okay, number 3. Did you get it? Pause the video, try it, and then come back to me. Okay, sounds like you got it. Here we go. So I have a reference angle. Denominator is 3, so I know I have a reference angle of 60 degrees, or pi over 3. And if I look at 60 degrees, the cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse, which means this will be 1 over 2. And now I just need to figure out the quadrant. All right, well, it's a negative angle. So that means we're going in this direction again, yes? So remember, this is 3 pi over 3, which means this hemisphere is cut into thirds. So if I cut them into thirds, there's 1, right? There's 1, there's 2, and there's 3. So this is in quadrant 3. Cosine is negative in quadrant 3, which means your answer is negative. Yes? Okay. So the most challenging part about this for some of you is figuring out which quadrant it's in. This is where it comes to practice and making certain that you know how to change these radians into other denominators to help you out so you can see it better, right? In number 3, this would have been a negative 3 pi over 3 in this direction. So that's 1, and 2 ends up here, 3 ends up there. Good? Okay, I have a couple more examples coming your way, so stay tuned. Here are the last 2 examples. Hopefully you get the same answer I do. Let's check them out. So I'm looking at the tangent of 16 pi over 3, and they want an exact answer. Well, what was the first thing we identified? Yeah, we're going to identify the reference angle. So in this particular case, my reference angle is 60 degrees, which is equivalent to pi over 3, and I'm taking the tangent of it, right? Okay, so pi over 3 is 60 degrees, so the tangent of 60 degrees, square root of 3 over 1, which is just square root of 3. Now what? Yeah, now you've got to figure out the quadrant you're in, right? Okay, so I'm noticing something though. Hold on. I'm noticing that 16 pi over 3 is a little bit bigger than the circle, because a full circle is 2 pi, and if I change that to a denominator of 3, then wouldn't that be 6 pi over 3? But this is 16 pi over 3. It looks like we're going around the circle more than once. So we're going around the circle once, and another round or circle around the circle is twice. So we're going twice around the circle. And I have leftover, don't I? The leftover is what? 4 pi over 3. So if you think about it, taking the tangent of 16 pi over 3 is equivalent to taking the tangent of 4 pi over 3. They fall in the exact same place is what this is telling me. So I just have to figure out where 4 pi over 3 is located. Which quadrant, right? Now I think we've spoken about that one before, but let's refresh our brains. So we're once, twice around the circle. I know pi is 3 pi over 3, which means this is 3 and 4 pi over 3, one more is in quadrant 3. This is a quadrant 3 angle. And in quadrant 3, x and y are both negative, which means tangent is positive, which means the answer here is a positive root 3 over 3. Good? Okay. By the way, if you have to go back and replay, then go back and replay. And put me on, I don't know, 3/4 speed, half speed, whatever works for you. Okay, let's look at taking the sine of 21 pi over 4. What's the first thing I like to identify? Yeah, I like to identify my reference angle. It's a 45-degree angle, isn't it? Which is equivalent to pi over 4. So if I look at 45 degrees and I'm like, well, what's the sine of it? Sine is opposite over hypotenuse. 1 over root 2, which is just, root 2 over 2. But wait. Now I've got 21 pi over 4. All right, so let me do a little erasing here from the previous problem, and now let's deal with this problem. The denominator is a 4, so that means that a full circle can be rewritten as 8 pi over 4. Are we good? Okay. And then, if I go another rotation around the circle, isn't that 16 pi over 4? So that's 1 rotation around the circle, 2 rotations around the circle, and then some. The and then some is how much? Yeah, 21 minus the 16. I have 5 pi over 4 left, which means that you're actually finding the sine of 5 pi over 4. That's in the exact same spot as 21 pi over 4. Are you with me? Okay, so we're once around the circle, twice around the circle, and then, okay, so this is going to be 4 pi over 4 at the 180 mark, or the pi mark, right? So once around the circle, twice around the circle, I need 5 pi. Well, that's 4 5 pi is in quadrant 3. And in quadrant 3, sine is negative. So the sine of 21 pi over 4 is in the exact same location as 5 pi over 4. So the answer is negative root 2 over 2. Good? Okay. If you need more practice with these, I have some more examples coming your way. So work on them before you find my answer key video. And if you're all good, great. Catch you on the flip side.